Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm going to share something deeply personal, a story that completely turned my world upside down. It's about betrayal, heartbreak, and ultimately finding the strength to move forward. The title isn't clickbait. This is what happened. My brother slept with my fiancée and got her pregnant right before our wedding. And this is the story of how I found out and what I did next. My life, just a few months ago, felt like a perfect picture. I had a job I loved, a close-knit family, and I was about to marry the woman I thought was the love of my life, Sarah. We had been together for 5 years. We built a life together, picked out our first home, and spent countless nights planning our future. Our wedding was just 2 months away. The venue was booked, the invitations sent. My suit was tailored. Everything was set for our happily ever after. My younger brother, Ben, and I had always been close. We were those inseparable siblings you see in movies. We played sports together, shared secrets, and always had each other's backs. When Sarah came into my life, he welcomed her like a sister. The three of us were a unit. They had their inside jokes, sure, but I never saw anything but a beautiful friendship. I trusted them both completely and without reservation. Looking back, maybe that was my first mistake. Blind trust can be a dangerous thing. The first crack in my perfect world appeared subtly. It was a change in the atmosphere whenever the three of us were together. A certain tension I couldn't quite put my finger on. Sarah became more distant, often lost in thought. She'd blame it on wedding stress, and I believed her. It made sense. Weddings are stressful. Ben started avoiding me. He'd cancel our weekly hangouts, saying he was busy with work. I remember calling him one night, just to catch up, and he sounded guilty. His voice was strained, his answers short. I asked him if everything was okay, and he just brushed it off, saying he was tired. I chalked it all up to pre-wedding jitters affecting everyone. I was so wrapped up in my own happiness, I couldn't see the storm that was brewing right in front of me. The night I found out is seared into my memory. It was a Tuesday. I came home early from work, planning to surprise Sarah with dinner from her favorite restaurant. I walked into our apartment, calling her name, but there was no answer. I found her in the living room, sitting on the couch in the dark, just staring at the wall. She looked pale, and her eyes were red from crying. My heart dropped. I immediately thought something terrible had happened, like a family emergency. I rushed to her side, asking what was wrong. She couldn't look at me. She just kept shaking her head, whispering "I'm so sorry" over and over again. My mind was racing through a million possibilities, none of them close to the truth. After what felt like an eternity, she finally managed to speak. The words came out in a choked sob. She told me she had something to tell me, something that would change everything. And then, she said it. She told me she was pregnant. For a split second, I was confused, but then a wave of pure joy washed over me. A baby. We hadn't been trying, but it felt like a wonderful surprise, a perfect addition to our new life. I hugged her, telling her it was amazing news, but she pulled away, and the look on her face wasn't joy. It was pure terror, and that's when she delivered the second blow. She looked me straight in the eye and said, "It's not yours." The world stopped. The air left my lungs. I couldn't process what she was saying. Not mine. How could it not be mine? We were engaged. We lived together. It didn't make any sense. I asked her who. I begged her to tell me who. The silence that followed was the loudest sound I've ever heard. She just cried, unable to form the words. So I started guessing, my voice getting louder with each name. A coworker, an old friend, an ex. With every name, she just shook her head, sobbing harder. Then, a sickening thought, a dark possibility I never would have considered, crept into my mind. It was a long shot, something out of a twisted movie plot. I almost didn't want to say the name out loud, because saying it would make it real. But I had to know. With a voice I didn't recognize as my own, I whispered, "Is it Ben?" The way she flinched, the way her body convulsed with a fresh wave of sobs, that was all the confirmation I needed. It was my brother, my own brother, the person I trusted most in the world besides her. The floor fell out from beneath me. The betrayal was so immense, so complete. It was suffocating. It wasn't just one betrayal. It was two of the most important relationships in my life, imploding at the exact same time. I don't remember much about the hours that followed. It's all a blur of rage and pain. I remember screaming. I remember throwing the engagement ring I had saved for months to buy across the room. I remember packing a bag with shaking hands, needing to get out of that apartment. That space that was once our sanctuary and was now a tomb of broken promises. I left without another word and drove to a hotel, my mind a chaotic mess. The first thing I did the next morning was call the wedding vendors. One by one, I canceled everything. The venue, the caterer, the photographer. Each call was like another stab to the heart, a formal declaration that my future was gone. Explaining why it was humiliating. I just said the wedding was off due to unforeseen circumstances. Then came the hardest part, telling my parents. Calling them was one of the most difficult things I've ever had to do. How do you tell your parents that one of their sons has destroyed the other's life? My mom broke down crying. My dad was silent at first, then just filled with a quiet, seething anger. They couldn't believe it. Their perfect family was shattered. They were caught in the middle, loving both their sons but horrified by what had happened. Then, I had to face Ben. I drove to his apartment. He opened the door, and the moment he saw my face, he knew. He didn't even try to deny it. He just stood there, looking pathetic. I didn't yell. I didn't hit him. I was just empty. I asked him one word. Why? He stammered something about a drunken mistake. A moment of weakness one night when Sarah and he were talking. He said it was a one-time thing, that they both regretted it instantly. But a one-time mistake had resulted in a child that would forever tie my ex-fiancé to my brother. He tried to apologize, but what does sorry even mean in that situation? It's just a word. It can't undo the pain. It can't erase the image of them together. I told him I didn't want to see him or hear from him. I told him he wasn't my brother anymore, and I walked away. Severing that tie felt like cutting off a part of myself. The days that followed were the darkest of my life. I was a ghost. I moved out of the apartment I shared with Sarah and got my own place. I went to work, came home, and stared at the walls. Friends tried to reach out, but I ignored their calls. The pain was a physical weight, pressing down on me. Some days, just getting out of bed felt like a monumental effort. The betrayal haunted my every waking moment and invaded my dreams. I knew I couldn't stay in that dark place forever. I was drowning, and I needed a lifeline. So, I did something I never thought I would do. I started seeing a therapist. Talking about it, saying all the ugly, painful things out loud to someone who wouldn't judge me was incredibly helpful. My therapist helped me understand that their actions were not a reflection of my worth. It was about their own brokenness, not mine. It wasn't a quick fix. Healing is a slow, messy process. There were good days and terrible days. I started working out, channeling my anger and pain into something productive. I reconnected with old friends who I had drifted from. I started rediscovering who I was outside of that relationship, outside of being a fiancé, outside of being that perfect family unit. I was just me, and I had to figure out what that meant now. It's been almost a year. Sarah and Ben are together now. They have a baby boy, my nephew. The thought is still a strange and painful pill to swallow. I don't have a relationship with them. My parents are trying to navigate the impossible situation of having a new grandchild while their other son is completely estranged from his brother. It's messy and complicated, and I don't know if our family will ever fully recover. But I have recovered. I'm not the same person I was before. This experience broke me, but it also forced me to rebuild myself from the ground up, stronger and more resilient than before. I learned the true meaning of forgiveness, not for them, but for myself. Forgiving doesn't mean condoning what they did. It means letting go of the anger that was poisoning me, so I could finally move on. I'm sharing this story not for pity, but for anyone out there who has been betrayed. I want you to know that you are not alone. The pain can feel all-consuming, but it will not last forever. You will get through it. You will heal, and you will come out the other side stronger. Focus on yourself. Allow yourself to feel the pain, and then, when you're ready, let it go. Your life is not over. It's just the beginning of a new chapter. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If you've been through something similar, feel free to share your experience in the comments. Let's support each other. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. I'll see you in the next one.